You can kick rocks if you don't like how I talk. I'm gonna keep on talking and walk my walk.
Welcome back. This is Shift Happens. Most companies aren't ready for it. We talk to the ones who are. This is Shift Happens. And we are joined today by second appearance, Mr. Trevor Hunter, and then me and Preston as usual. Everybody say hello.
What's going on?
What's going on, group?
Yeah, that way
Talking
we all
about
on camera.
the travels of the country. Jealous. I wouldn't mind
Trevor
traveling across the country and working. Build
We're
out
15,600 miles into a 16,000 mile trip that has now been extended.
Nice.
Just gonna keep going.
Yes, keep going. Circle back
Well,
around
we
to different
didn't-
states or park back home.
We didn't. We're in Washington now, but we didn't get Montana, Utah, and there's a whole stretch there in the middle that we didn't get. So we're gonna basically summer, I think, in the Pacific Northwest. I'm shooting for like 70-degree temperatures, and there's a Dirtfish Rally, 2 events that I want to do there. That's in the Pacific Northwest. So I'm thinking of a summer in here, and then come like September-ish, shoot over, go down through Montana, Utah, perhaps see some of you guys. And then I've got some guys in Denver as well, and then back up around and maybe winter in Southern California.
Wait, for those of us that don't know and are, hundreds of thousands of listeners, what the heck is Dirtfish Rally?
It's like a rally driving school, like rally car.
Oh, are you getting Trevor? I think you're skipping out.
Am I?
Yep, you're coming
Okay.
back.
Okay, it's a rally school, rally driving school.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool. We were actually sitting in a little restaurant the other day, and a guy pulls in with a Porsche Cayenne that was set up for off-road. And I asked him, I said, how does that actually do? Because Ed Bullion just did an Alaska trip with his, and it's one of the vehicles that I've considered playing with. And he was talking about how good it was, and he had a shirt on that said Dirtfish Rally. I think it's Dirtfish. I may be screwing that up. But the guy we were with was like, you don't know Dirtfish? And I was like, never heard of it. And he was like, they have a rally school up here. And I was like, well, that sounds fun. And I was like, well, what's that cost? And I looked it up, and a full day is like $3,000, and they give you a car and you get to go hoon around the dirt rally course and with a driver and everything. So I was like, well, that's happening.
Yeah, that's happening for sure.
Yeah.
A Porsche set for mud. That's interesting.
A Porsche Cayenne, the bigger SUV.
Like the hatchback kind of, yeah. I like those. Those are nice. I don't know if I would turn it into a 4-wheel drive vehicle, but it's definitely nice.
They're surprisingly capable, actually.
Yeah, I'm just not a car person. I went over this though, but I do love a good looking truck.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't mind like an old S10 or for cars, Camaro.
I may pick that
Chevelle.
Excursion that I sent you a picture of. That's the same body style as your truck, right?
Yeah, and see that looks fun. I mean, that's lifted. That's the thing when you get out to Hawaii, everything's lifted like that out on the. I don't know what it is. I guess they get flooding, but
Yeah.
lifted. It looks like a fun time though to me. And I know what's really cool, because like to kind of just on the topic, like I did the video the other day. You want to tell people about, obviously I think kind of the theme here of this episode today is going to be SaaS is dead. But like one of the coolest damn tools I've seen in a long time is that little AI agent that you built. We operate inside a Discord channel and prompt it, and it's creating web pages, creating collateral, things that we can share, getting straight to topics without having to bother you necessarily. We can produce our own changes on the website relatively easy. But your perspective, first of all, that is so badass.
It is pretty badass.
It's very badass. But
Have you played with it yet, Preston?
I haven't. I've been onboarding some agents, but yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna dive in for sure.
So
So
badass.
it's kind of interesting because the perspective is. My first thought was when I give a little context. We're driving down the road, and I think I told Justin the story, and I've had the tool for quite a while. Like, it's how we actually make edits, internally. And I was driving the road, and I was thinking, and it just hit me. I was like, what if I gave that to our clients and let you guys actually do your own stuff? And so I reached out. I think you were one of the first people I called about it, and you're like, yes, let me have
Yeah,
this.
definitely.
and uh and then the perspective still wasn't there. I didn't realize what it was. Like, you ever have a thing and you don't know, like, it's cool, but you don't really know what it's meant to do. And initially
Yeah.
it was like, this is the way to edit the website. And then after playing with it and working with Justin on seeing some of his content, I figured out that it's not really about making those mundane, hey, we fired this guy, let's change this, we hired this new team member. It's not really so much about that. While it does do that, it's more about I saw this social media post and I need to make a bit of content about that so that I can rank on Google for this new trending topic, and then also plug it into my social media campaign. Or there's a storm coming, and you're a contractor, and you know the storm's coming, so you want to get some content out there. It gives you the ability to immediately address a trending topic in the marketplace, and that's pretty cool.
It is incredibly cool. I think we need to get Preston invited to the Discord channel
Yeah, for
so he
sure.
can
I had that
actually
Discord up
do
earlier and
that.
I was looking for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I'm not a web designer, and we've tried. I mean, the thing that I think is important to preface, like before we ever met you, Trevor, I and Preston and I went through website hell, trying to find a somebody
Sure.
that could get us a website that visually we liked, and part of that journey was even AI tools. Like we literally go into I don't know, I think it was Wix or like GoDaddy. There's some of these like, hey, we'll help build your website. And it looked about as good as a child did it, like
Yeah.
very
Threw together
cookie
an
cutter
AI.
generic. And where yours is kind of spitting out. Obviously, there's some logic that I'm assuming is in there from the, current design and feel of the website that it's
Yeah.
capturing and carrying over. But
Yep.
once that base is built, now it's just so easy to create collateral. So
That's
that's
exactly how it works. So with the foundation package, you get a really awesome website that's perfect in every way. Like, all the Google stuff, all the things that Google cares about, like the scan runs. Um, and then when we add something new to it, all it does is look at what's already there and goes, okay, so you have this, 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 and this. Let's do this and replicate it over. Because it's really not hard to create a duplicate type page from an infrastructure standpoint. Because, you know, 10 pages can basically have the exact same structure, different text, and different photos, and they're vastly different. But from an infrastructure side, they're identical. So that's what the tool that I gave you, is what allows you to basically pull the front page and go, yeah, let's redo it with this other bit of content. The core infrastructure side of it is developed with the foundation side. And to your point, I've seen some AI tools that actually can output some pretty decent websites. They look pretty. They can look quite nice. But then when you run them through a scan, they come up with a 27 or a 35% score because they're built clumsy. They're just not clean code. They're, slow as hell, and that affects your Google ranking. So it really doesn't matter if the website looks fantastic. If it's not ranking on Google, then nobody ever sees your pretty website. So, does that make sense?
makes
Yeah.
perfect.
Out of curiosity, because we were looking at the analytics, and I know we're pivoting here off topic of the podcast overall, but when I view, every time I pull it up to go mess around or take some shots, think of ways that we can continue to edit it, is that also counting towards the analytics, I would imagine, right? Because I'm not
If you
automatically
view it
logged in as an
yourself,
admin viewer. Yeah.
yeah,
That
it would show as a site visit.
Yeah, it depends on how you have your analytics shown up. I didn't configure that for you guys, so if you should have your IP address in the analytics blocked as account.
That says okay. That says
But again, you're talking about one visit.
yeah. I'm
If
not
you're
going there
getting
10 times a day.
yeah, so it's probably not enough to skew the metrics.
For sure.
If you only had 12 visitors a day, then
5 of them
yeah,
are
it would
me.
skew. Yeah, but you guys have far more traffic than that, so that
Yeah,
wouldn't be the case.
for sure.
So
I think what sparked this and getting into like what's interesting, because you made a comment the other day. I think all three of us agree. There may be variations in what our opinions are on this statement, but you said the word SaaS is dead during one of our phone calls. You're like, hey, SaaS is dead. What do you mean by that? That's a big statement. SaaS is dead. How do you unload that?
And for those that
Well-
aren't as familiar, define SaaS.
Software as a service.
So yes, the monthly fees. I need a thing, and I'm going to reach out to this third-party provider and get a software that solves this particular problem for me. That could be your point-of-sale system, your invoicing system, your CRM, your dollar, everything. And, every single business has their stack of
You've got
SaaS tools.
Salesforce,
Their tech
Five9,
stack.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
And almost all of them charge per user, you sign up for the thing, and this is one of my pet peeves. You see a thing, and you go, oh, that looks cool. I wonder if that would work for me. And you go, okay, and it's $19.99 a month. So you're like, hell yeah, let's go. And then you get in there and you go, oh, well, I need this thing, and this does not include in the $19.99 package, so I got to upgrade to $39.99. Oh, well, shit, I need this one too, and now we're at $59.99. And okay, well, I have 3 people that need to use this, and each one is $59.99 times 3. So now we're like $180 a month in a bill that you literally landed on the page thinking you're going to have a $20 solution, and now you're spending $180 a month. And the problem is it still doesn't fit your business perfectly. Like, you're still having to make compromises constantly. You have to adjust your workflow around this new tool, and then you'll use that tool for a year or something, then something new will come along, and then you'll find something else and a way to reduce your cost, and you get this new tool, and then now you have to refigure your entire workflow around the new tool to try to make it work, and it's just chasing your tail the entire time. And the reason I say SaaS is dead is 2 years ago, to build a CRM, if you guys had contacted a company and said, hey, we need a CRM that does this, 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 and this, they would have been like, cool, we can do it in a year and a half, and it'll be $250,000. And today, you can reach out to a guy, somebody who has some skill in the AI space, and go, I want this, and he goes, all right, can you swing, $12,000, and I'll have it done for you in a week? At that point, your ROI is less than a month. If you have your own dollar CRM for you guys, which you guys are still using, you're a little different model because actually, I don't know if I should say that. How much can we talk about with that? How your infrastructure is with?
No names.
We use the infrastructure of our partners right now. We have our own internal infrastructure for reporting and cadences, but the infrastructure and tools comes directly from the partners today.
Okay, so I can't say that.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if I could talk about that or not.
You're
So
good.
you guys don't. A lot of your BPOs will have their own tech stack that they sell or that they pass the cost on to the end user. And you know how much that can cost. I mean, you could very, very easily, by the time you add a dollar, a CRM, a QA system, and other things that I don't probably even know about, you're talking, $150, $200 an agent. Is that reasonable?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you have 60 agents, what is that looking like per month? And then if you could eliminate that entire bill for $15,000 up front and have your own tool, it's a no-brainer. So why would anybody do that? Or why would anybody not do that, rather?
Yeah. No, and I think you're actually 100% right. I mean, I saw Salesforce just built out their own phone system, which was an interesting play because Salesforce historically in our space has always kind of made its bread and butter off the fact that you have these bolt-on suppliers, right? Like the major players in the contact center industry have plugins to Salesforce's environment. So it's, you know, if you're on this phone system, Salesforce makes the most sense because there's a native plugin, less lift. And with them building a phone system, it seemed like a big FU to some of the CCaaS, which is contact center as a service providers that had been, you know, selling the phone platforms that plug in. And now you have the big conglomerate, which to me kind of just feels like a last ditch effort to try to create more relevancy in the space. The one thing that I can't figure out, because there's this pay to play model, as much as anybody wants to call it, is compliance. So like you get SOC 2 type 2, you know, there's all the different compliance certifications, which are freaking expensive. What does that look like? Do you have any thoughts on that? Because to me right now, like if you want to go SOC 2 type 2, from a compliance standpoint, which is really just a pain in the ass for anybody who's done this, they know. But you're looking at least $50,000 to get this certification, which is insane. Honestly, I mean, I see the validity behind it, but in your mind, have you looked at that at all? Or is that just kind
No, I actually haven't. Again, I don't know that space that well. But even then, you're still not at a stupid amount of money. I mean, you think about a company like yourself that did have your own or didn't have your own system in place. I mean, even if your cost out the door was, even if the compliance was 50 G's and you're 12 grand in to have something developed, you're 62 in. If you're spending 15 or 20 a month on software, you're what, a 4-month ROI? So it still makes sense.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I was just curious how AI will impact these security certifications, because like, and that's maybe a different conversation, different time, but it's like, hey, if they're natively, because platforms, right? Like we joked at the end of the last episode about AI tokens becoming a form of cryptocurrency, or like, could these tokens become as valuable as crypto, right? Like as it gets more efficient, maybe you need less tokens to complete and people will just have a shit ton of tokens and inherently they'll increase in value. But if they're built inside of platforms that are already compliant, it's fair to assume in my mind that AI would also build specific to compliancy. And then therefore the certification should just come as a result of building on top of it. But it's wishful thinking and maybe totally different episode.
The compliance part of it, again, I know very little about the internal part of how a BPO works in a CCaaS, but you know, like, you can't have a robo-dialer. Like, I don't think there's any certification that allows that. So, you know, you have the dialer set up to click to dial, and it clicks and it dials 3, and it'll connect 1, you know, or however you have that configured to work. But to my knowledge, I think that's within the scope of what's okay. I don't know what has to happen for that, what you're saying, a SOC 2 certification, or I don't know what that actually approves and what that allows to have happen.
Yeah, it's the SOC 2. It's a pain in the ass. We'll just leave it at that, because I'm definitely not the guy. I've gone through a couple SOC 2 certs over the years, and you just do what you're told, which is really just like producing a lot of security documentation to make sure your customer's information is at a level that is safe and acceptable. But you know, there's just so much cool shit going on with AI, and I'm grasping for questions. But Preston, you got
well, PCI compliance is a little bit of a challenge, but that comes into the server side, a lot of the server side, and how you're storing data, and the fact that you're not storing data. And then the HIPAA compliance is probably the biggest challenge. You know, I think you guys actually do some stuff in the medical space, So there's a bit of a challenge with AI handling calls directly, like a voice, where the AI is actually the agent, because just by the way that actually inherently works is the call is recorded. Even if that call is immediately deleted, that call is technically recorded. And there's questions, and maybe there's not at this point. Maybe it's completely no go. But to my knowledge, at the latest I looked into it, there was questions about how HIPAA rules would apply to that, as far as the call being recorded and so forth.
Yeah, PII.
Yeah, standard call recording and compliance procedures, and that's why they'll even have, whether it's AI or human ran, quality control, quality and compliance control. But a lot of the AI right now, that at least what we're seeing in the sales environment for those, are kind of AI lead qualifications, and not necessarily AI selling for it. But 100% agree.
Yeah. But now the AI development side of it, like, you can have an AI develop a fully non-AI tool. Like,
Have
like
AI
my dollar,
develop fully non.
my dollar and my CRM that we're about to launch has no AI element in it whatsoever. Like, AI has built it, but it's not an AI system. It's just a next gen or a next.js file structure on a Postgres database.
Which is hilarious. So I know a little bit about this, but Trevor's launching a campaign and just decided to build the infrastructure because it's so much easier for someone with his talents to, like, hey, I actually could build these things for an outbound campaign, which I think is freaking just amazing. Preston always says when we talk to guys like you, like, I wish I had your brain.
Yeah,
Right? Like
100%. If I had the ability to do those types of things, I would probably go down a rabbit hole and get yelled at a heck of a lot more than I do now.
You would never sleep. You'd be like,
Yeah, it's like
2
2
a.m. like, oh
a.m.
shit, I gotta build
Justin
that.
gets a message like, dude, check this out.
You can ask my daughter. There are so many times, like 8:30 at night, we'll be doing
Or you're
something, watching a
driving,
movie, and
pull over.
it's like,
Got an idea.
I'll have, yeah, and I'm like, okay, I got to build this real quick, and I may not have to. I don't have to build it all. I just have to get enough built so I have a little
lay out the
skin in the
base.
game, so I come back to it.
For sure. Well, cool thing for you too is your daughter is starting to, or probably has more capability than I do at this point, to build out those types of things. So while you guys are driving, can even, tell her the idea, and she gets started on the base process, lay out the guide, and you guys pick it up later.
See, now I have Starlink on the truck, so I can pull my phone up, pull up Discord, and go, hey, build out this page for the website, and blah, 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 and it just goes to work and starts building it.
Done when he reaches the destination.
Yeah. Honestly,
Yeah.
I think
I went to bed last night with it processing, making some changes to the dialer, because the dialer, I actually posted on LinkedIn. I couldn't figure out what I wanted, and you guys might actually chime in here, but the campaign for the CRM. So you add leads to a campaign, and I don't know if you want to be able to add multiple leads to multiple campaigns, like the same lead to multiple campaigns. So like if you say you filter out and you want to call X type industry in X state, and you've got 6,000 leads in that, do you want to add that to multiple campaigns? Or if you try to add a lead that's already in another campaign, do you want it to go, hey, stop that, don't do that, you can't add this to this other campaign because it's already in this?
Gotcha. So
or do you want
using
to
leads across different campaigns and different brands?
Yeah, is that something that's done? I don't know in your space. So
It's done. It depends on the brand, the partnership, the agreement, the NDAs, or non-compete clauses. It really just does depend. But there are a couple brands I have seen recently that are utilizing those leads exactly how you're saying.
Well, and I'm not necessarily mean across companies. I mean more like we have, like with Leo, we're going to be running multiple campaigns at different price points and different like a A/B testing.
So same brand.
Yeah, same brand, but we also don't want the agents cross dialing each other. So for my
Gotcha.
application, we don't want to do leads in the same campaign, but there may be. I didn't know what it was. So last night, I literally was laying in bed and I told it, hey, build out both versions. Build out version A that had, or modify the current system to include where it doesn't allow it, and then option 2 is where it does allow it with an approve all button. So that's, and this morning I got up and it was done.
Nice. I'm curious when you say, so when you think like in a holistic view, when you say software as a service is dead, why do you say that? Sure, what's the main priority or reasoning behind software as a service is dead?
Why
Is it
would
just that
you
there's too many
pay?
tools, the
No, why would
subscriptions?
you
Yeah.
pay thousands of dollars a month for incremental base or base pricing, usage based pricing, when you could just own your thing that is literally built to your exact needs? Like, if
Right.
you're a supplier or a manufacturer of a part and a car part, for example, and you say, hey, I get most of my leads on Facebook. You could have the system monitoring Facebook and flagging notifications for that. If you wanted to if you knew that your part was a high breakage item, you could have a system put in place to, if this report comes in from the customer, it automatically processes it back through the manufacturing process to have it back through and ship back out like an automatic approval. And you could tailor it to whatever you need for your operational system to work well. And
And you can do
if you
it
can
in a
do,
matter of an hour, 2 hours, a week, you know.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like we need 6 months to a year to develop and $250,000. It's like, okay, we'll knock this out for you in 5 days for 10 grand, 8 grand.
Well, it's like something so stupid as like when you go back, we did time clock. Like we could go buy a time clock for our employees at like $10 a month, insignificant, but we were able to work internally, built a time clock using AI in a matter of probably less than an hour for
Yeah.
sure. And what probably took more time than building the time clock itself was putting it in the user interface of Sonic Pulse, like unique to each user. But the time clock, like I have no AI experience. Like, and you built some shit. I forgot what you built, Preston. Like, but we've messed around. Like,
Yeah.
even me with no knowledge of AI, like I am like compared to you, Trevor, I would say if you're like a master's degree, I'm more like third or fourth grade level, and that might even be uh giving
Too
myself a
high.
little too much credit
Too high of a grade.
of how to build, but I built a damn scheduling app and inventory app for a bar and a restaurant for fun, and I did it in 3 hours. Had it published live online. Nobody ever used it. I showed it to them because I'm like, hey, look, this is blah blah blah. Would people?
And they're like, great, now you're making us hold ourselves accountable. Good job.
Yeah, it's
Nobody
just
used
insane. So that's
it.
why, like, when you say SaaS is dead to me, I'm like, oh, this is going to be really interesting because, like, the way that some of these tools have looked historically in any operation, but let's get it, I could say specifically to call centers, it's like if you're trying to get from point A to point B and you're trying to bend around the system to get to the end result to follow the customer mapping and the flow. So, like, companies have spent probably billions of dollars, if not trillions,
For sure.
just building plugins and trying to get systems to do exactly what they
Mm-hmm.
need them to do. Where now you're just going to create a straight hallway. It's like, hey, this is how our customers flow. Or like there's companies that have dedicated teams to just optimizing tools. Not only are they paying for the cost of the tool, but then they're paying for professional services on the back end. Somebody
Yep.
that's like inherently trained, like I'm a Salesforce specialist, I'm a Salesforce admin, and you have salaries that go on top of the licensing costs just trying to bend it. And so when you look at SaaS being dead in my mind, it's like these companies, it's going to be interesting because in my mind, bold prediction here. This one may not age well. Salesforce will become the next version of Sears or Blockbuster in 5 or 10 years.
I'm not sure if Salesforce has an IPO, but I would not buy stock in Salesforce.
Yeah, they're public. They are publicly traded companies. So yeah, they're
So
doing.
I got a scenario.
Yeah.
Back in like 07, 08, I worked with a company, a big textile plant. They did like woven wall tapestries and woven blankets, like on a jacquard loom. And they had a website system where people could get in there and buy stuff, obviously, but they could also upload their own art and have it printed, or not printed, but woven into the fabric. And they used a very, very old system called Oak Street back then. And it was old in 07, right? Like, it was way old, like monochrome, green, black string. So they brought me in to help convert the system over to SAP. And SAP was a fairly popular system at the time, and I think it still is, but it was a little over $500,000. It took literally a year of implementation. And even then, with that system in place, all the modules, the system was like $100,000, but then every module that had to be customized for that business was like $50,000, and there was a shit ton of those modules. So the entire inventory, 2 warehouses, had to be completely stripped of all their inventory numbers and completely re-inventoried because of the way the numbering system had to go. Now, you fast forward to today, there would have been some legwork, but you could have literally done that entire job. We had people on the ground. I was physically there. It's one of the only times I was ever on site for a job for that long. And we were there for literally a year working on that. Today, that could have been done with a custom-developed software remotely. Nobody setting boots on the ground whatsoever. Could have probably been done for $20,000 and a month worth of work. And they would have had exactly what they needed.
So let me ask you this. Is software as a service actually solving problems still, obviously, or just creating more subscriptions? Like, do businesses have software stacks now that are costing more than their employees? Enterprise level is kind of my thought process, and not seeing them really pivot into building their own and recreating it for their 10,000 employees.
That's an interesting question. I don't think so. I think the software still serves a purpose, but they're facing a decision right now of, every single business owner that is using a tech stack that's costing them a whole bunch of money, their competition that makes the move to do something different and reduces their overall overhead now can offer the exact same service at the exact same quality for a lower cost. I mean, think about a BPO. If you shaved off $160 off the top of every single agent that's operating, how much does that affect the campaign cost over the course of a year?
Oh yeah, 100%.
It's huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
So, when you're price checking, you can do the same quality and you're coming up short every time, and you're going to get the deals.
What I think we'll probably start to see as that trickles out, the enterprise level companies or any companies that are not changing those softwares they purchase, the subscriptions, not building their own, potentially getting discounts as they renew because there's going to be less subscribers. And then those that are building their own are going to be kind of on the cutting edge of the type of development they make. Making new innovations, kind of bringing a different culture into their company, and probably see higher productivity on a daily basis. But it impacts both companies in a positive way up front. But I think in the long run, for sure, software as a service, selling those subscriptions is going to be harder and harder to come by. So for those SDR agents that are trying to push the sales, renew subscriptions, I can see it becoming more challenging. 100%.
Yep. I think we're going to have the companies who they're
for us.
The what now?
I said, and then they can come work for us. And so
there you go. The early adopters at the enterprise level are going to bring in their own AI development teams that are going to solve all their problems. They're going to, your Connects One, for example. I think that's a big company in your space, right?
Yeah, they're all right. I think they're up and coming, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Or they're a provider though, right? They do a CCAS. So, yeah, okay. I think they're building out their own AI driven system. That's what's going to thrive. Then the guys who are still trying to hold on and sell their memberships, their subscriptions, they're going to fall to the wayside. The ones who are not adapting. And then you've got your smaller companies that adapt to like you guys. You guys are smaller. That means you can adapt really fast. You two can get together, have a conversation, and tomorrow implement major changes across your entire company.
Yeah, for sure.
An agency that has 8,000 agents across the world can't do that. They're limited by a board of directors and all the. Yeah, exactly. They can't, and so the fast movers are going to be the one that actually. This is going to make the smaller guys win more, I think. Because y'all can move fast.
I agree. I mean,
yeah,
it drives one of the cool things about AI, and what it you don't need to. I feel pretty passionately about it, but you're gonna start seeing the fancy "look how smart I am" through words facades get their asses blown out of the water by the actually produced results with people, and I think AI is exposing it. I'm really happy that where business is today with AI, because everything's really just going to be outcome focused, not the dog and pony show of yesterday. But I think AI is kind of exposing that nonsense. It's the do and the say ratio. Somebody posted on LinkedIn and I was like, I freaking love that. There's people who say that they're going to do, and there's just people who say, there's people that do and people who say, and AI, I think, will expose that in some ways, just by, you've got companies that are in next year, this feature will be launched, blah, 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 where now it's pretty quick to be actionable, and people will win when they just execute with AI. But I want to ask you the question, with AI, and be honest, are most companies actually ready for AI, or are they just pretending?
I think that's a mindset thing. I think it's, are you willing to make the change or not? I think they can be. I just don't think I don't think most companies that are kind of mid-tier, they're coasting, they're doing okay, but they're not, breaking any records every day. They're just kind of coasting along. They're going to be scared to rock the boat. They're not going to want to move. And the guys who are actually struggling a little bit are going to be chasing something new because they know they need something new, and they're going to find the new thing, and they're going to rock it past the median guys.
An interesting way to put at it. So, if you had to put it, because you've got a mind for this, and you probably see a lot of AI features. I imagine you're pretty well researched. You were telling me about agentic AI earlier in the week, but how many companies that are claiming AI, in your opinion, out of 10, let's just keep a small number, out of 10 companies claiming that they're AI companies, how many would you say actually are?
What do you mean they're claiming that they're AI companies?
They're just making some sort of position like the future of AI. There's a beautiful meme. So let me give you an example, because I think it illustrates it well, but it literally just shows somebody pointing, and it says they're labeled executive. We want AI, and then right underneath it says, okay, what do you want it to do? And then right underneath that it says, I don't know, but we need AI.
Okay.
So companies, it's a buzzword, of course, but out of 10, how many do you think are actually doing it, in your opinion?
I don't know. I can't say that. I don't know.
High percentage, probably.
I don't know.
I would imagine.
That are pretending?
It's going to vary because there's so many different... AI is a term, right here. And let's put this in a box right here.
You have to define what you are providing as a form of AI, right?
Yeah, but then you have...
platform.
your Chat GPT users, and it's amazingly powerful tool, you know. And then you have your custom GPT Chat GPT users, and that makes it even more amazingly powerful. And then you have your guys who are playing with custom LLMs who build their own thing. All of those guys are using AI. They're using it at vastly different levels. You know, I'm using, like, my system that you were playing with the other day uses 7 large language models plus one of my own that I built. You know, it does that for a lot of reasons. Tokenization. Tokens can be expensive. So if you say you run 1 million tokens through, and I'm going to get this is going to get confusing probably, but Opus 4.6, I think 1 million tokens for that's like 58 cents per million. And the page that you did, actually I'll pull it up real quick. You burned through, playing with that the other day, 17 million tokens. Not a big deal, right? Like, that was $10.23. Now, Opus running that exclusively would have been more expensive than that. But I have it set up so that different bits are handled by different large language models, because at scale, that can get quite expensive. So you have one model handling the orchestration of the project. You have and that's your smartest model, for example. Then you have, like, the copy side can be done by a fairly lower tier OpenAI system, because it's really good at writing copy, but then it sucks at doing something else. So the complexity can be as complex as possible, but it's typically going to come down to how good do you want your output to be, and how much are you willing to spend. And if you're trying to manage cost and quality, it takes a lot. You know, does that make sense?
No, it does make sense.
No, it does, yeah.
Yeah, do you think AI tokens will get more expensive or cheaper with time?
Cheaper.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I can
cheaper.
imagine. Need cheaper for sure. Well, and I was also
Yeah.
thinking of that from like a different perspective. As an example, I was going to ask you, how have APIs and AI can change the economics of building software?
Well, APIs have always been a thing. I mean,
But as
for
it
the most part, I mean,
progresses and develops, because now we can tie
yeah.
into different things for free, and open API, I guess, is kind of a better point.
Well, so, I mean, 15 years ago when we were building, you know, a ton of automotive sites, SEMA's API. SEMA was the leader of the year, make, model for cars. The model, you know, it had every year, every make, every model, every trim. So if you wanted to go to a automotive website and you clicked that you had a 2020 G63 Merc, then, and it was it had 2 trim levels, it would have all the criteria for that particular model. And back then, I want to say SEMA was like $2,500 a year, which was a fair bit of money, to be fair. That type stuff hasn't really changed. The people in the subscription as a service model that will survive this are the data-centric ones, like SEMA, for example. The ability for a system to curate every year car, every make, every model, what engines came with it, you got to think that's a massively complex database, and it's not something that's going to get taken over by building an internal system that's built using AI. So those guys are going to be okay. I hope that maybe answers some of that question.
It does.
And I think
Sorry.
everybody, yeah, and I think
Go ahead.
everybody
Yeah.
kind of, for a while, I didn't even know what the heck API was and how it was approached. But as AI has become a little bit more publicly used and accessible, kind of seeing the benefits of OpenAI and API and closed API. But
API is just a handshake between your system and
Right.
another system, basically.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with AI at all, actually. It's
Yeah, it
just
just ties it in.
you're asking, saying, hey, I need information about this, 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 and this, and it gives you that information.
But that's what gives
So
us
you're
the
not
ability
storing
to,
all the information.
yeah, and that's what gives us the ability to tie it in to build those small custom tools or automations, right? We recently built so our chat function, the chat function that we use automatically prompts and informs us when we change an agent's status. So from sent an offer, onboarding, and that open API capability was great. We didn't have to pay for it. So a lot of benefits for sure. And the more I use AI, the more I see the benefits of it. And I know there's a lot of skeptical individuals out there that feel that AI is going to just completely take over. And I think there's always going to be people needed regardless. And we've touched on this, right? There's always going to be a human element needed.
Well,
So
that actually brings up a question because I honestly like curiosity, Trevor. Do you think there's a point where companies are going to get to where they rely on AI like too much, or is that just inevitable?
So, we're running short on time. That's a long question. I'm gonna be honest with you, because we did a study a year and a half ago, and we paid a lot of money to have a study done using a lot of data, and it was a third party study. I wanted it for my own peace of mind, and there are products that we've developed that we've not released. Because I did not feel that those products would be good for the whole. I think that my mindset on that is probably not common. I think most people are just looking at, can I make money? How much money can I make? And let me sell this thing. And I think that about 70% of the jobs that exist will be affected by AI significantly in the next coming years.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like I think it's inevitable. Like, right? You can look at inventions across time, the internet, like there'll be a new set of jobs is what everybody says. You can get into like some of their universal basic income, like so much wealth, I think Elon says. I mean, whatever. Without like, but it is weird because you wonder when we breach that line of too much reliance on AI. And right now there's human in the loop for a lot of what happens in AI today, but what happens when there's not? And
well,
how
yeah,
reliant do we become on
for
AI?
sure. Well, because we always want to customize it ourselves. And I was thinking this when I was thinking about Salesforce or other large tech stacks. You know, you pay this subscription amount, and you're probably only using what 20% of what the software's capabilities are. And building it yourself, you're building it specifically dedicated to your purposes. So you're going to be using close to 100% of the tech stack that you have if you're building it specifically for your model, your campaign. I think that's a big benefit as well.
Well, and
Completely customizable.
I mean, I'm trying to pull out of you like some like the future of AI. You know, like I know I asked the question, are we going to rely on it too much? You're like, hey, baby, that views. So let me ask you this: what is the craziest thing that you've seen AI do that you felt was like, well, that might be going too far?
I don't think there's going to be a limit.
Videos
and
and
I don't
pictures.
going too.
I'm just saying, what's been your holy shit moment? Like it's
Okay, I'll share a scenario with you because it's one of the things that we tabled. We built a box that would potentially sit on a table at a restaurant and have an AI power that box, and you sit down, the AI says, hey, how are you? Welcome to so-and-so. Here's our drink specials, our drinks, whatever. You place your order, and that order essentially eliminates the waitress or the waiter. And then potentially a robot could come out and bring your food, or a person, a food runner. When you think about how many waitresses and waiters there are out there, a box on a table that doesn't need a tip, doesn't need that is going to be immediate. You know, hey, I need some more tea, or hey, I need some more Coke, or can you forgot my ranch, and it's immediately responsive. that's detrimental to that industry. And we made the decision to not release that device because it's essentially trying to kill a median to lower level income.
Well,
And if it would hurt, it would not be a good thing for the world as a whole. Now, when you take that and you know how that took a week to build, like it was easy. It didn't take any effort whatsoever. Like we put a box together, 3D printed the components as a prototype, and it was what it was. Now, when you take that and apply that same logic to other industries and think about how many other industries could be impacted like that, and how many people you could replace in a retail sales environment, in a legal office,
In a call center.
accountants, in a call center. I mean, and you think about the rate of development that AI has went from 2 years ago, nobody even was using it. ChatGPT drops and was like, oh, what is this novelty thing? And today, it's literally a core function in everybody's life for the most part. Like, you don't talk to anybody. You know, you talk to a 65-year-old, 70-year-old man, he's like, yeah, I use ChatGPT. There's no age barrier anymore. There's nothing. It's used by everybody. And 2 years ago, nobody knew what the hell it was. In 2 years from now, what does that look like?
So
Nothing has progressed as fast as this.
I know
ever.
we're running into time, but I do want to ask because I heard on a podcast the other day, and I'm curious your framing on this because I was like interesting. Is that a lot of these like the open APIs and all these big AI companies, they're for-profit organizations. I think Open API was started as a nonprofit, but IPO, whatever, at some point. But they're saying, hey, they're overselling. Some of these companies are overselling where they're going to go in order to prop up their valuations. And so, like, I think it's not going to grow as quickly. This is what I heard in a podcast that they said, I suspect it won't grow as quickly as we think because these companies are spending a lot of money to make you believe that it will to bolster their valuations and increase their funds.
No, I disagree with that statement 1,000%. They will not grow as fast as they want to grow for one reason. There's not the infrastructure right now. That's why I'm pretty. I don't do stock advice or nothing like that, but I'm pretty heavy in the infrastructure side of investments. Like the companies in South Dakota who have data centers that are already kitted out for. A lot of these are former Bitcoin mining companies, but now they're retooling everything to be AI data centers. These guys are going to go through the roof as far as valuations go, in my opinion, but there's not going to be enough. The ability for OpenAI and Claude and our Anthropic and all these companies to grow is going to be limited by the available infrastructure they have. That's going to be the limiting factor, not how many customers do we have, because they have everybody.
And before we get to wrap up here, and we'll skip the rapid fire section, but for those that are listening, that SaaS is dead or dying, no longer needed. So if someone's listening, they're paying for say 15 different tools, where should they start?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I've actually considered building out
Self too.
a network of guys that essentially like a Fiverr type system, but more where each project gets a project manager assigned to it that's established, and then a dude or a team of guys or ladies to establish or to build out a development tool. Because
So what you're saying is
the guys that are really good at this, they're not companies. They're fucking dudes, and they're like guys in Discord that are playing at 3:00 in the morning and chatting with each other, and they're the ones that are like doing crazy shit. And company A has no way to know because they're not in the Discord talking to the dude over there. So
Yeah,
they
for
can't
sure.
make that connection. So I think there needs to be an intermediary system that connects the two. This guy with this offer or
This
this project so
person.
that the two can meet.
Yeah, no,
And because
absolutely.
this guy is not a social butterfly, that project manager is also needed to actually mitigate the workflow, I think.
Well, and maybe we starting there definitely, but also get together, make some adjustments to the website, and become rid your subscription software and customize your builds. Start with your CRM, something crazy. Throw it out there. See if we can't get a couple smaller companies buy in and customize what they need. I think BPOs is a major area that can use
I
customization
do.
100%. And as we
I,
customized
I've
our dashboards, it 100% gave the agents clear visibility, showed the
mhm.
organizations that we're partnered with that we mean business, we're serious. We're not just going to stick with standard reporting that they provide us. And yeah, 100% customize how we look and what we do.
I agree.
I'm over here just
Wow.
responding to chats. I apologize.
No.
There's a trust variable that I was trying to build out, and I haven't figured out the logic yet. Uh, I don't want it to be Fiverr because Fiverr, you're blindly hiring somebody who you have no idea. I think the infrastructure of this concept needs to be there's there's a person who's actually going to put this developer on this project manually, not the companies making the selection from a random pool of people that this guy's done well. But then the part that I can't figure out is obviously you need newcomers, so you're always going to put your best guys onto a project. But how do the newcomers that are new with the project, how do you get these guys into the system working on active projects and still feel good about what they can do without seeing it? So
Yeah,
there's some
for sure.
logistics there that if I could actually have figured that out at this point, I would have already started building that platform out. But I can't figure out how to do all the pieces yet. Because I'm actually in all the Discord, so I'm one of the guys that's up there at 3 a.m. chatting with the guys and discussing how things are going to work. So I have those connections, and then so that's kind of the anyway that was the idea that I popped in my head. I just can't figure it out yet.
Yeah, and we were lucky enough to have our CTO kind of have firsthand knowledge, hands-on experience with a couple of the campaigns that we were working with and had built out. So it worked. I see exactly what you're saying. It worked out perfect. But well, I know we're out of time, Trevor. Always a pleasure having you on, and enjoy the rest of your journey, your 16,000-mile journey that you're already
400
approaching.
miles. 400
Yeah,
miles away, but he's continuing. Keep going.
Yeah, we're
yeah,
not stopping.
yeah. No
I
reason.
don't know what the new cap is. I've got big vinyl on the back of the camper that says that's kind of it's got a QR code and stuff like that. But it says 16,000
That's cool.
miles, so I guess I'm just gonna have to like black it out and write a new number or something. It's in vinyl, so yeah, I'll figure out what I'm gonna do there. But yeah,
Right on. Sounds fun. I mean, at this point, I'd say for those that watched, appreciate it. Appreciate you listening to and hopefully subscribing to the channel. Real takeaway here, remember, it also isn't that software disappears. It's just rethink how we build and use the technology. Less
well, thanks
subscriptions,
for having me, guys.
customized subscriptions.
All right, guys. Till next time.
Talk to you later.